Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. You may remember a few weeks back when I published a solid shampoo video using loads of real hibiscus flower, and I've gotten several requests now to show you how to make a matching solid conditioner to go with that shampoo. And it's funny because that was something that was already in the works, so I'm really excited today to be releasing a solid conditioner to match the hibiscus shampoo. This one will also be made with loads of plant-based ingredients, including real hibiscus. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a full step-by-step visual tutorial and process of how to put together this beautiful solid conditioner bar. I have to say it's one of the best formulas I've ever come up with, so I'm very excited to be sharing it with you today. And if you would like the full written recipe and a full written detailed tutorial with percentages, please head on over to my Patreon campaign where you can unlock this recipe for just a $5 pledge. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description box below for you. The formula that we're making today is one of 3 hibiscus formulations that have been recently published. You can find all 3 of them on the campaign, in addition to 3 years now, almost 3 years now, of recipes and tutorials. I do publish weekly recipes and tutorials, and you can unlock all 3 years worth at just the $5 level. In addition to the $5 recipe and tutorial tier, there are 4 other tiers to look at and possibly take advantage of on the campaign that offer all their own unique benefits. Things like live monthly classes, live monthly hangouts, gift packages, coupon codes to my favorite suppliers. I really do hope you'll consider checking it out. We've built a wonderful community over there. It's a great way to connect with me, a great way to connect with other makers. And it's patrons like you that really help me to continue to bring great content to you every week. So I really hope you'll consider giving it a try. All right, let's make some beautiful solid conditioner. All right, so before we get started, it's important to note that we are making a cosmetic type product, so you just want to make sure your entire workstation, including anything that's going to come into contact with your raw materials or your finished product, is completely sanitized. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is this recipe is broken up into 2 parts. We have a heated phase and then we have a secondary phase. So I think you're really going to like the ease of this recipe and also the finished product. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and weigh off the ingredients that are going to be going into my heated phase. These are the ingredients that we're going to be actually warming up and melting down. We are making a 400 gram batch today. So the first ingredient that we're going to be weighing off is an ingredient called BTMS 50. Now, BTMS 50 is an emulsifier. It also has very, very good conditioning properties. So this is a must-have, in my opinion, for any type of solid conditioner. BTMS 50 is a wonderful conditioning agent. It's going to add solid structure and hardness to your conditioner bar. And it's got beautiful rinse-off properties, so it doesn't feel stuck in your hair after you rinse it off. We're going to go ahead and add this in. And the next thing we're going to be adding in is some cetyl alcohol. Now, cetyl alcohol is a beautiful ingredient also to add to conditioner, hair care products like shampoo, conditioner, also skincare products like lotions that you want to have a really silky, smooth, velvety finish to. It also is a thickener and a hardener, and it's a fatty alcohol that has really good rinse-off properties to it, especially when combined with that BTMS 50 that we just weighed off. So we're going to go ahead and add in our cetyl alcohol. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and weigh off the butters that go into this lovely conditioner. Now, I really like making solid conditioners for this reason, because you can add a lot of really good high quality ingredients like butters and oils without worrying about your formula separating like you would in a liquid type conditioner. And so it really a little bit goes a long way, meaning a solid conditioner bar, a little bit goes a long way in your hair, and they last for a really long time, and you can add loads of goodness. So we're gonna go ahead and just cut up, first of all, we're gonna cut up some mango butter here. I've got shea butter and mango butter. These are great butters to add to hair care products. The shea butter is gonna add loads of moisture, and the mango butter is also gonna add moisture and hardness to the bar, and lots of antioxidants and nutrients. Perfect. And next up, we're just going to cut up some gorgeous shea butter and also add it to the mix. Now, we're not adding this at as high a percentage as we did the mango butter because it has a little bit more of a greasy feel to it. So a little bit goes a long way in that it helps your hair to feel super hydrated. It draws a lot of moisture to your hair. Great for people with curly hair. Okay, so that's it for the butters. And then the next thing we're going to add in is some liquid oil, and the liquid oil of choice here is going to be our hibiscus oil. Now, the hibiscus oil we're using, I just got off of Amazon, and it is gorgeous. It's 100% pure organic hibiscus oil. It's made for the body, hair, and the face. It comes directly from the hibiscus seed. It's extracted from the hibiscus seed, and this oil easily absorbs into your skin and your hair, and it has a very light floral fragrance to it. It's considered a deep conditioner for hair. You can use it straight on your hair or your skin. Today we're going to be adding it into our formula. Hibiscus oil is known to help treat dandruff, and also it is a wonderful moisturizer. It brings moisture to the hair, but it also locks it in. Okay, and that'll do for the hibiscus oil. And then we're just going to go ahead and set aside our heated phase ingredients while we warm up our we're going to go ahead and set aside our heated phase ingredients while we weigh off our secondary phase ingredients. So the first thing I'm going to do for the secondary phase ingredients, and the reason I'm doing this is because once these are all melted down, I want to be prepared to go ahead and add in my secondary phase ingredients rather quickly, because this formula does set up pretty quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do here, this recipe does call for a little bit of water. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some hibiscus flowers, I should say, some dried hibiscus flowers. I got these from Nature's Garden. I'm going to place a few of these into this little glass beaker. Now I want to make a little bit of a hibiscus infused water or a hibiscus tea. I'm just kind of eyeballing. I want to make sure my water gets nice and red. So I'm just going to pour some distilled water over these hibiscus flowers. And as you can see, they're so concentrated, they're already infusing the water as we pour it in. And then I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, but I will be heating this up just to create sort of a water infusion or a tea. And when it's warmed up, you will see that that water is going to get really deep red. We also need this water to be warm, so when we combine it with our secondary phase, everything combines nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside with my heated phase ingredients, and then I'm going to weigh off the rest of the ingredients into this little plastic container here. So we are going to be putting in to this container some Baobab protein. Baobab Protein is a plant-based protein that comes from, I think, the seed. I'd have to look that up to make sure. But this is a very elegant and popular ingredient to add to hair care. It's a protein. You can replace this with any other type of hair protein, anything like soy and rice protein, hemp seed protein. Those are a few. Oat protein, wheat protein. They even have things like broccoli that you can get protein, hydrolyzed protein. They are all really, really lovely. I like the conditioning feeling of the Baobab, so that's why we're using this one today. You could also use a honeyquat. That's an easy to find ingredient. That is a byproduct of honey, so it won't be a vegan-friendly recipe if you decide to use honeyquat, but it has a lot of the same properties. And then into this, we're going to go ahead and add in a little bit of DL-Panthenol. Now, DL-Panthenol this is a powdered DL-Panthenol that I did get from Brambleberry. It's vitamin B fortified. And we're going to be adding this into the Baobab protein because it is a water-soluble ingredient, and it should dissolve nicely into this Baobab powder, it should dissolve nicely into the Baobab protein, I should say, because it is a water-based product. Okay, lovely. And then I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir before we add in anything else, just to kind of get that DL-Panthenol dissolving. Okay, once that's dissolved, you can go ahead and add in the rest of the secondary phase ingredients, and that is going to be some Cetrimonium Chloride. Cetrimonium Chloride is great for hair applications. It's great for hair conditioners, hair shampoos, rinses, masks. It's used for its anti-frizz properties and anti-static properties. So I actually love the way this feels in this recipe. Okay. All right, now next up, I'm going to be adding a little bit of water-soluble dye. And the reason I'm adding some dye to this is I'll show you my water here is infusing. It's turning nice and pink. I am still going to warm this up and it's going to get dark red. However, the amount of water that we're using, or infused water that we're using, is not going to be enough to really change the color, since there's so many opaque white ingredients in this recipe. You really don't get the color of the hibiscus showing through, and the hibiscus oil is not pink. So we're going to go ahead and add in a little bit of water-soluble dye at this time. This is a Bomb Colorant from Nature's Garden. I'm going to add a few drops in here. And this should give our product a little bit of a hibiscus hue. It's not going to be real red or anything like that. Of course, you don't really want anything too pigmented in your hair care products, because you want to be careful not to dye anyone's hair on accident. So we just want a nice, subtle color. And then the last thing we're going to be adding to this, actually two more things we're going to be adding to this, is our fragrance oil and our preservative. So today I'm going to be using the Sweet Nectar and Hibiscus fragrance oil. This also comes from Brambleberry, and it's a great hibiscus fragrance to use for this hibiscus themed project, and you have seen me use it in other hibiscus formulations as well. So it's a really juicy, bright fruit-forward fragrance that I really like. And then the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add in some Optiphen preservative. The reason I'm using an Optiphen preservative today, this one is heat safe up to 176 degrees. And since we do need to do some warming up of the ingredients here, we want to make sure we're not killing off the preservative. So I like to use this one in particular for this formula because it can take higher heats. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and give this a little bit of a stir. And then I'm going to set this aside. Okay, I wanted to give you an idea too of the color of the water. I went ahead and I popped it into some warm water. I put it into a warm water bath and just allowed it to warm up. And as you can see, the color is a really beautiful hue. We only need a little bit of this water, however, for this formula. So I'm going to go ahead and strain out my flowers. Into this container here. Now be mindful, this is going to be hot when you take it out of your hot water bath. So just be careful with that. Okay, I want to take a little temperature read on this, and it's sitting at 140 degrees. I did get a little bit of hibiscus flower in there. Take that out. So here's our other secondary phase ingredients, and here is our infused water. And right before we go to combine it with the heated phase ingredients, I'll go ahead and pour this into there so that we only have to do one step of pouring. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this in a hot water bath and simmer it until all of my heated phase ingredients are melted down and completely translucent. So I'll bring you back when we are ready for the next step. Okay, so here we have all of our heated phase ingredients completely melted down and looking completely transparent. I did take a temperature read on it, and right now we're still sitting at 183 degrees Fahrenheit, which is too hot to add in our ingredients that do have the preservative in it. So we're going to wait for this to come down to about or below 176 for sure, probably in the 170 range to 165 range before we add in the secondary phase ingredients into this. And also, just so you know, I'm using a chopstick here to stir because this formula does have a tendency to stick to spatulas and set up very quickly. So I wanted to make sure and just use this thin stirring utensil here. And also, you may find that that BTMS 50 is very difficult to melt down until it gets to a translucent color like this or completely see-through. You may want to pop this onto a cookie sheet and put it into your oven, actually at 200 degrees Fahrenheit or so, if you cannot get that BTMS 50 to melt in a hot water double boiler system. All right, I'm going to bring you right back when this has come down in temperature a little bit and we're ready for the next step. Okay, so we've reached about 170 degrees Fahrenheit on this formula, around 167. As you can see, it's starting to set up a little bit around the edges here, so we need to work a little quickly. So we're just going to take our secondary phase ingredients, we're going to take our infused hibiscus water, pour it into there, give it a quick stir, and then we're going to add it into our heated phase ingredients and stir it up really nicely. So at this point, I think I am going to switch to a spatula. Or no, just want to make sure everything gets completely incorporated. If you're seeing any pieces of conditioner bar starting to form a little bit in here, it's just because of the temperature difference between the heated phase and the secondary phase. So just make sure you stir it all back in and get those pieces melted back down to a uniform melted consistency. And just get it nice and stirred up. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is go ahead and pour this into our mold of choice. Okay, so we just have this kind of rectangular cavity mold we're going to be using, and what I'm going to do is just go ahead and slowly pour this in. I did put it on top of a food tray because I plan to move this to the freezer for a little while after I pour it. And I'm not going to pour all the way up. These are rather deep. I'm probably going to go about halfway into each cavity. All right, I'm going to go slowly warm this back up to melt it and pour it in. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and pour the rest of that in here, into that last little mold. And then I'm going to let this set up just a little bit, and then I think we're going to go ahead and sprinkle a few of the hibiscus, just a little bit of the hibiscus flowers over the top part of these molds, but I don't want them to sink. They are kind of heavy, so I want to give this a minute to set up, and then I'll sprinkle a few of the flowers in and we'll pop it in the freezer. All right, so I'm just taking a few of the flowers and setting it down into the tops here. Kind of getting them stuck. Okay, I'm going to give you a close-up before I pop these into the freezer so you can see what this looks like. All right, at this point, this is what our conditioner bars look like, and of course they're going to get much more opaque and lighter in color as they set up. I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the freezer, and then I'll bring you back to unmold them. All right, here they are now all set up, and they took about a half an hour in the freezer to get fully set up, and now it's time to go ahead and unmold them. All right, we're just going to go ahead and pull the sides of the mold away from the conditioner bars, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. There's the first one. They're so gorgeous. I absolutely love this. And that's the back side. It's still a little bit warm on this side, so they will get a little bit more opaque as they sit. Okay, so all you do to use these is after you wash your hair, you just take the conditioner bar and you pull your hair over to one side, or you can just rub it directly into your hair, work it in like you would any other conditioner, and allow it to set there for a minute or two and then rinse it out. And you guys, this is the best conditioner recipe I think I've ever formulated, and it feels super good on the hair. I would allow these to set up for about 2 to 3 days before you go ahead and start using them in the shower, just to make sure they're completely set up and hardened. All right, everybody. Well, that concludes today's video. I hope you really liked it. I hope you learned something, and I hope it inspired you. If it did, please remember to give this video a thumbs up. Please leave a comment or question below. It really means a lot to me, and I love answering your questions. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share this video with a friend. All right, everybody. Bye. Keep shining.